Everyone, and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 30th of August 2021. It's Gary Gillen here, and I'm your host again for this week's edition, and I'm fairly certain everyone listening to this podcast this week had a very, very enjoyable week and more so weekend after two very solid results for our team that mean that we are now in the UEFA Europa League group stages for the fourth year in a row and are now closing in on top spot in the Scottish Premiership table after yesterday's 1-0 victory over the mob from the East End. Who would have thought at the beginning of last week that we would have experienced the COVID outbreak panic that we did, that would absolutely impact our preparations for two very, very important games in the manner that it did. I didn't pay that much attention, or I don't pay that much attention to COVID outbreaks in the sporting world. I only really care about Rangers and nothing else. But I can't honestly think of another outbreak that would forcibly remove the manager, the captain, your first choice goalie, your second choice goalie, your backup fullbacks, and yet we still managed to get the results we needed from both games to make it a very successful week for our great club. So that was just fantastic, just incredible. And resilience shown by everyone at the club, and I couldn't be more proud of the team for coming through this past week in the manner that we did. It was just amazing. In this week's What Gaz Got Wrong Last Week, I didn't receive any feedback from anyone that I made a mess of anything last week, which means I think I'm really nailing this. I'm just getting right good at it, and the mistakes are at a minimum or zero. And that's the way I'm going to take it anyway. Either that or people just can't be bothered reaching out because the mistakes are too plentiful. I'm not 100% sure. On to our game segment for this week. We had two games in two different competitions again last week, starting with our away leg in the Europa League playoff round on Thursday against FC Lashkert, where we played out a 0-0 draw against 10 men for around, 2/3 of the game, something like that. I had a handful of really, really good chances to score, yet just kind of laboured in the extreme heat in Armenia. I didn't speak to or listen to many folks that were in any way greatly impressed by the display, the score, nor the perceived effort by some of the players that night. But I don't know. I took that to be not from out-and-out absolute criticism and frustration from the team, but more from a kind of surprised, what the F is actually going on with our team here as we kind of struggle to hit the heights of the form that we enjoyed so much last season. It's that kind of way that I took it, and maybe just a little bit of nervousness leading into the weekend's Old Firm game as well, perhaps. I was watching it, granted, while multitasking during meetings at work, but I didn't honestly have any fears that they were going to put us under any significant pressure. Enough that our place in the group stages would be in jeopardy anyway. I don't want to sound blasé, but that team felt to me anyway that they were worse than most of the bottom six in the Scottish Premiership, and with the benefit of hindsight, we managed the game a lot better than I initially had given the team credit for. So there you have it, we're back in the group stages again, and that's not something to be sniffed at. Obviously we all wanted it to be the Champions League, and that wasn't to be this year for the reasons that we kind of know of in terms of our performances against Malmo. However, you might have seen that Malmo also qualified for the Champions League as well, had a bit of a scare in their second leg, so at least they went on to bigger and better things and didn't just flop at the next stage. Makes me feel just a wee bit better. And by now you'll know the draw for the group stages, as that was made early on Friday morning our time, North American time, and we have drawn against Lyon, Sparta Prague and Brøndby. And is it Sparta Prague? I think it is Sparta Prague or Slavia Prague. No, Sparta Prague. I'm sure it is. I could double check. But anyway, one of the Prague teams, and it looks by all accounts that they are going to be just as pleasant as their neighbours and rivals anyway. So I think it's a very competitive and exciting group to be part of, and the good news is that we won't have long to wait, as our first game is in just over 2 weeks with the home opener against Lyon. So more about that on the week after next's pod. That's very bad English, I think, but in the pod from the week after next, let's say that. And yesterday, on to the big one, we were in league action again for the first Old Firm game of the season against the Great Unwashed from the East, and we came out as, I think, more than worthy winners thanks to an absolutely superb set piece goal. Started with a wonderful and closer to the player we know he is. Borna Barisic corner smashed home with a header by a brilliant Philip Helander. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant goal and a goal worthy of winning any game. The first half was a bit of a cancelling each other out, tense fest sort of thing with no real action of note. Other than like a much better but not quite there yet Ryan Kent hitting the outside of the post, and the £75 million rated Edward incredibly not even getting a proper shot on target when it really genuinely was harder to miss than it was to score. And other than that, that's all I really recall from the first half. The second half, Rangers pretty much dominated from the start, right immediately from the start, and got the goal and are just rewards of the 3 points. It was a solid, if somewhat unspectacular, performance all over the pitch in the second half, and we restricted them and their £200 million rated Japanese superstar to just a bit part role. He had one decent chance and one half chance, which Robbie McCrory was more than a match for. A couple of other observations that I had taken from the game. I mean, how amazing was Liam Balogun at right back? I think almost compounded by the fact that everyone that I spoke to beforehand, when we realised that was going to have to be the way that the setup was going to be, with Nathan Patterson being absent completely, everybody's kind of panicking, because he did have a run at right back for 3 or 4 games last season and didn't set the heather on fire at all. So I'm thinking that they're going to put the Japanese fellow right on him and just maybe tear him apart. I was really worried about that, but an absolutely brilliant shift the big man put in, and his post-match comments just show how much he loves the club and doesn't stand for any nonsense. He gets it, and I love it, I have to say. I thought Alfredo Morelos put in a very, very smart shift, putting himself about and winning free kick after free kick after free kick, and not even getting involved in the hilarity of the game or any of the emotional nonsense that he typically does as well. So a really, really good mature performance for him. And in case there was any doubt whatsoever, and I know there actually wasn't, but just in case there was any doubt, that little yellow armband passed on from Scott Brown to Callum McGregor is actually a force field that protects the wearer from any formal discipline during a game. Quite how their new captain Marvel didn't end up with a yellow card, it's just utterly scandalous, actually. You get what you get with a referee like Kevin Clancy, and I guess we shouldn't have been surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. I guess that's the saying. And the last thing was the lack of sportsmanship displayed by that mob at the very end when we kicked the ball out as Balogun was cramping up, only for them to take the throw in quickly to try to press for the equaliser, but to keep possession when they took the throw in, prompting Balogun to have to get back up. I thought initially he got up too quickly, but he actually got up because they had already taken the throw in. Just disgusting behaviour on every level from them, but it's what we've come to expect from that classless lot. All in all, as I said, we definitely deserve to win, and to do so, as I mentioned earlier, without our manager, our captain, our first and second choice goalkeepers and backup fullbacks, to mention but a few, just goes to show how strong of a squad we really had, and it's just absolutely amazing. I was chatting with my family in the car on the way home after the game and said, today was their chance and they didn't take it. And really what I meant to say, honestly, was that they couldn't take it because they're just second to us in every single position on the field, bench and in the management team stakes as well, and we'll prove that over time that we are still miles and miles ahead of them. And I'm way more hopeful now that this will be another magnificent season for the club. But to come through a week like that, easing into the international break, we needed 3 positive results from the last 3 games prior to the international break just to break the downer that we were on, truly. And we were hoping to win the 3 games. Two wins and a draw is good enough to get us to where we need to be, which is great news for everyone involved. So as you know, as I mentioned, the international break, we have no games to look forward to, which makes yesterday's Old Firm victory all the more sweet, as we can sit back and watch their meltdowns aplenty and just give them a friendly smile and nod, and just with a big cheesy grin on our faces. It's always great to be a blue nose, but times like this, it makes it all the more better and all the more sweeter as well. On to RTV for this week. We did have some challenges again with Toronto number 1 out in Ontario and buffering on their feed again, which is really frustrating for everyone there. I'm sure it's certainly frustrating for us and RTV as well to try and figure out what is happening. I know that Alan McWatt is working closely with David Melvin from Rangers TV on that one, and we'll see what those investigations bring to the fore in terms of what we find, if anything, that might be causing these issues. I know there was a bit of an account updating thing that we tried yesterday, or certainly after the game yesterday, that might help, but I guess we'll need to wait and see till the next game. But we do want them obviously to enjoy their feed on every game, so we'll see how that one goes. And just on that, as I do every week, another quick reminder for all NARSA clubs: if you are experiencing any issues, please let us know during the games, and we will do everything we can to help, up to and including informing RTV and having them troubleshoot live and real time. Alan also distributed the RTV survey the week before last, as I mentioned last week, to ask the various questions that will help NARSA ourselves understand the current situation with each club, what your anticipated game fees could be for the season, and whether you need RTV vouchers and anything else that you need to let us know in terms of things that are happening for your club at large. So please, if you haven't already, get an opportunity to fill out that form. The deadline for completion is end of day on your time zone tonight, which is, as I mentioned earlier, Monday the 30th of August, and you'll see another reminder come out from Alan. As we stand right now at the time of recording, and it's a wee bit later tonight, it's 8:35 p.m, we have a 50% completion rate. It might be a wee bit over 50%, one club over, which wee bit disappointing, but maybe there's going to be a real rush at the end and everyone will get their survey in. We gave it 10 days and 3 games for folks to get together and complete, which is more than enough time to do that, and we'll send out the reminder for the folks and the clubs that haven't done it to date, and hopefully then we'll start to get those trickling in, and then we'll do the regular chasing up of all the lazy bams out there who decide not to bother even doing it. From a shout out topic this week, I'm trying to get more NARSA specific shout outs to let everyone know what's happening in and around the NARSA family and community, and we have quite a few this week. Actually, this is a bumper edition of shout outs. So firstly, for this week, I received the following note from Windsor True Blues Secretary Al Ditch, where he said, "I would like to say thank you to Billy Ferguson. Again, he has helped me. Just a simple thing, but to me it is immense. I lost all my addresses and files, and I asked Therese and Billy for assistance, and they responded to my request. Lovely people. Thank you, Al Ditch." I love it. Bears helping bears. NARSA bears helping NARSA bears. So well done, Billy and Therese. And if anyone else in the world out there has any technical computer-related issues, it feels like the best and first thing you should do is call on Therese and Billy, and they will help you out. I can give you the details if you need. Secondly, Toronto number 1 have the following events planned that will help to continue to re-establish social well-being and camaraderie at their club, and hopefully help the club out with some much needed fundraising opportunities as well. The first one is a charity race night on Saturday, September the 25th. The first race starts at 7:30 p.m. Pies and beans will also be served, and that's $10 per person. And the second one is on Saturday the 6th of November at 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. They have Two for the Show, and I think Two for the Show is a band. I'm assuming Two for the Show is a band, and the tickets for that are $15 per person. If you need any further information about these, please reach out to Norma Maxwell and she'll be able to help you out. And if you don't have Norma's details, please let me know and I can certainly put you in contact with her. Bramalea Rangers Supporters Club also have a fundraiser organised for Saturday, October the 16th at 7:30 p.m. featuring a brilliant Queen tribute band, and I think this is something like the 4th or 5th time they've tried to organise this, and COVID has just kept pushing it down and down and down the road, so good for them for sticking with it and getting the band organised. The cost is $25 per person, which gets you admission for the concert, access to raffles, door prizes and other auctions. And if you need any further details about that, please do let me know, or visit the Bramalea Rangers Supporters Club on Facebook and you'll get the details for that as well. And if anyone else is having auctions or is looking for any kind of one-of-a-kind valuable merchandise for it, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and I'll organise a signed photo of myself to be sent over to you. I can do it on Express Post or something if you need. It's all part of the service. I dare somebody to do that. Please, just one time, and because I've got 450 of these things sitting on my desk here, and no one ever asks. Next on the list is a very happy 40th birthday to Karen Watson. And if you don't know who Karen Watson is, she is NARSA's main contact at the Rangers Charity Foundation and the person who puts all of the legwork into all of the foundation events, from the idea through to the logistics, through to the actual monitoring or managing, I guess, of the event, and then the collation of all the monies. And that's been since... what's that, 2014, I think probably was the first one. And I saw some photographs of Karen's party at Ibrox on Facebook, and the Queen was there, Stephen Gerrard was there, albeit cardboard cutouts. Broxy Bear was there in person as well, and it looked like she and all the guests had an absolutely great time. So thank you very much for everything you do for the foundation, Karen, and of course for the great linkage with NARSA as well, and very happy 40th. The Cambridge True Blues also held their AGM this past weekend, and I wanted to extend my congratulations to their new committee and to Billy Fatkin Billy Fatkin Jr. I should say, on his appointment to the role of president. We're all looking forward to working with Billy and his team over there as soon as he sobers up from yesterday's game and result, which is probably going to be around mid-October, I imagine. And finally, for this week, I wanted to wish my lovely niece, Chloe Carey, a very, very happy 20th birthday this coming Saturday, September the 4th. Man, oh man, oh man, where does the time go? We will be helping Chloe mark the occasion with a wee trip to Las Vegas, no less, and to go see a Harry Styles concert on the actual birthday day, which is kind of cool. And the irony of this is the concert was supposed to initially be for Chloe's 18th birthday, and then it was postponed due to COVID and stuff like that, so we get to see it on her actual 20th. So Chloe, happy birthday when it comes from your Uncle Gaz, and you will be more than thrilled to experience your Drunkle Gaz wishing you the very same all day and night on Saturday. I cannot wait. Pretty good shout out section this week. Very, very happy with that. For our convention update for this week, the main update is that we have received, signed and returned the contract addendum with Planet Hollywood, and we now have a wee modest increase in our room numbers. Rooms are available for booking via the NARSA website right now, and we will get going on some supplementary communication out via our regular communication channels to that effect in the next wee while as well. And we did indeed manage to meet with Jimmy from the Las Vegas Loyal last Tuesday to discuss the various areas that they are responsible for organising: the golf, the football, the Friday excursion, the leaving do and the like. And it was a great conversation that we had some dialogue with each other on afterwards to confirm where we stand on the items, and I will be in a better position to provide a more robust update on that and us getting going with the various events out there to get booked very, very soon. So more to follow on that next week once we dot some I's and cross some T's, and once we have a wee bit more progress to report. But what I can say right now is that I'm very happy with the direction that things are headed in, and I'm confident that once we get going you will be too, so stay tuned. Regular weekly update for our frequently asked questions document that's on the website related to the convention, and all the questions that you may have, all the questions you should have would be answered there. And if not, please do get in touch with me directly and we can get you sorted out. I did mention last week that we were investigating whether we could organise a 50-50 draw and perhaps coincide it with yesterday's Old Firm game. Obviously we didn't manage to do that, but I would love to organise some fundraising like this and engage the clubs and the club members, as I mentioned last week, and I'm not sure if there is an appetite for this, but it's worth a try. So try we will, and we'll have more conversations during the international break about the logistics and see where we go from there. So stay tuned on that. We might have to do kind of two, one for Canada, one for America, with the rules being slightly different in each of the countries in order to keep ourselves completely above board and on the level, so to speak. On to communications. Some things I did want to mention from the communications front this past week. Firstly, you might have been on the Rangers website and saw the final product of the Sammy Cox Memorial Committee's journey which was the finished bronzed bust of Sammy. If you haven't saw it yet, I'll put the link in the blurb for the pod, and I would absolutely urge you to go and check it out. There's an accompanying video for it too, which is absolutely terrific. Huge congratulations to Grant McLean and the rest of the committee for all their hard work over the years put into both the garden and the bust. It looks amazing, and NARSA, they were very keen to give NARSA a bit of a shout out on that as well. Really, really well done. The thing looks absolutely amazing. They got to go on the pitch and did some interviews and stuff like that as well. Really, really good news story there. Secondly, the club announced a special captain's dinner that's going to be held on Sunday, September the 19th, with our very own James Tavernier. And what they said was, Rangers are delighted to present a captain's dinner with 55th title winning captain James Tavernier on Sunday, September 19th. Tavernier will be joined by players past and present at the Doubletree by Hilton, Glasgow, for a special evening which will include a 3-course meal, auction and raffle, and guest speakers. The Rangers captain will also take part in a Q&A session at the dinner alongside guests. So I guess that means he's not going to get sold in this transfer window. So I'll put a booking link into the blurb for this week's podcast. If you're interested in booking tickets for that, you're welcome to do so, and that's coming up pretty quick here. I guess that's, what's that, is it 2 weeks yesterday? No, 3 weeks yesterday, something like that. 2 weeks this coming Sunday. So that sounds like a great idea and a very enjoyable evening. And to round off the segments that we had over the last, what would that be, maybe 6 weeks or so on the share issue, the club has also informed us that the share issue was indeed a success, raising approximately £4.5 million with almost 5,000 new investors from 44 different countries, which just sounds amazing, literally, in terms of the global reach that it's had. And if someone had asked me how many countries just literally in the world there were, I'm not 100% sure what my answer would be, but 44 sounds like a big percentage of the world's countries. I'm delighted to say that I did indeed get my own shares, and I'm now a very proud shareholder in our wonderful club, and I'm sure many of you are too. So great news for the club. I hope they spend the monies wisely and we get to play our own little part as we move forward. The club also made the following statement earlier today in response to videos circulating with people singing sectarian or discriminatory songs in Glasgow city centre on, I think it was yesterday, round about game time or leading up to game time. And the club said, following an incident on Sunday, we repeat that Rangers FC condemns all forms of racism, sectarianism and discrimination. We are working with the police to identify any season tickets holders. As a club, we are proud of our Everyone Anyone campaign led through the Rangers Charity Foundation, our work with a wide range of stakeholders and our ongoing dialogue with the Scottish Government. Discriminations of all forms is a societal issue within Scotland. Those with influence within Scottish discourse should put their energy into eradicating this very serious issue across all sections of Scottish society who suffer sectarianism, discrimination and racism of any form. As someone eloquently put it on Twitter, nobody cared about the songs that were being sung during Old Firm games until Rangers started winning them again. And while that's not factually true with Rangers' efforts on the Everyone Anyone campaign, I'm not belittling that at all, there is an element of truth to that statement. If you can't beat us on the pitch, because you can't, obviously you can't, what's this then? You try to beat us in the minority behavioural stakes or what? Like, get a grip. As I've said for many, many years, they are bad losers and even worse winners. Just a ridiculous club in a ridiculous set of circumstances that always seems to rear its head. You can't help but think and feel that this stuff is just waiting on the result of the game to try and discredit us and take us down a notch or two. It just won't work. I was sent a quote and from Martin down in Chicago on a group chat we had last week, and it was by Ricky Gervais, and it says, just because you're offended doesn't mean that you're right, or something like that, but you get the gist anyway. And I'm not saying this stuff is to be condoned at all. I haven't seen the videos or anything. That's the big caveat to this, but they are just itching to be offended by anything and everything they possibly can to deflect away from their own insecurities and failings, and that's what's going to happen. So brace yourself for more of this as we go forward, as the realisation that last season wasn't a fluke, and it's going to continue for a number of years to come, and this implosion is going to continue, and I just love it. I think it's great. We still do have our giveaway to get organised for the 2 tickets for the Special Managers Dinner on March the 3rd or 4th in 2022, also at the Doubletree by Hilton in Glasgow, and we pretty much have the question done. I mentioned last week we're going to do a bit of a trivia idea and some follows and that sort of thing, and I think with it being international break now, we'll get going on that and give people a wee bit of something Rangers to get going on and look forward to as we move forward as well. Believe that if you like. I've been saying it for about 5 or 6 weeks and we still haven't managed to get to do it, but I promise we genuinely do have the tickets. We genuinely are going to do the giveaway. It's been trumped by other things over the last wee while, but we'll get some time to get that done, I promise. So in the closing, I just wanted to talk briefly about the transfer window. And if you listen to this podcast regularly, you might have noticed that I typically don't make much, if any, mention of the incomings and outgoings of the first team squad. And the main reason for that is, for the most part, you'll already know about it. That's the interesting stuff that we all kind of keep an eye on, whether it's in the newspapers, on websites, or social media, or wherever. And I can't really add much more value or edutainment at all on the topic. Plus, I normally don't know too much or anything about the new guys that we sign, as I'm no expert at all in the market in which we operate right now. However, in closing for today, and depending on when you listen to the podcast will determine either how much time is left on the transfer window and or how long it's been closed for, but the club have said for quite some time that a key component of our strategy, a key pillar of our strategy, is player trading. Yet to date we haven't experienced much in the way of outgoings of key players from the first team squad. And at the time of recording, as I mentioned earlier, it's now 8:50 p.m. I don't know if this window will see us progress unscathed in that department again, or whether you'll see, for example, Kent, Morelos, Kamara, Barisic or Goldson leave us, or Tavernier, as I mentioned earlier, and give us a bit of an adjustment to make. As a fan, I want the best players available to us all the time, but the business side of me does acknowledge they need to balance the books at some point. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all unfolds, and I'm going to keep my fingers and toes crossed that we don't get stripped of too many, if any, prized assets, and if we do, we receive fair market value for them and an opportunity to replace them within the window and not leave us completely stranded, as it were. So we'll see how that goes. Quite exciting. I do like the transfer windows, and when it gets to the latter stages of those anyway, it doesn't seem like there's a whole bunch of activity. So tomorrow, I imagine it's going to be a little bit wild. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that will do it for this week, my friends. As always, thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to listen, and please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. And until next week, take care. All the very best. Cheerio.